Hello and welcome to this training, Nutrition Support, Tools and Advice for Care Providers. My name is Kirsty Wood. I'm a community dietitian working with Hampshire and Isle of Wight NHS. This training is really useful for people who are working in a setting where you are providing nutrition as part of a person's care. That includes nursing homes, residential homes and care homes. So you don't have to be a chef, you don't have to be a healthcare assistant or a nurse. This is applicable to all people working within a care home setting where you are able to support a resident with their nutrition and hydration. In this training, we're going to be looking at malnutrition prevention pathway. We'll be looking at some food fortification tips. We'll be looking at some individualised care plans for your residents, as well as some really fantastic resources and tools to support you, your team and your residents. In order to keep to time, I'm going to move through this quite quickly, so feel free to pause, rewind the video as much as you need in order to capture that information. Before we start, I want you to take a moment to think about the nutritional issues that your residents are facing. So that could include things like malnutrition and weight loss, impaired cognition, any pressure damage or pressure wounds, and poor hydration. So feel free to pause the video, jot down some of these ideas, and then we can have these in the forefront of our mind as we're working through to see how relevant that is for your particular residents. Next, I want you to think about how you currently prevent and treat malnutrition. So what systems are in place for you when you are identifying malnutrition or preventing malnutrition and then treating it? So what systems are in place for you? Again, feel free to pause the video and then we can come back to that and see how it measures up in terms of what's in this training. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about in this video relates to a particular resource or document that is available on the ICB website. So the document is Nutrition in Care Homes, Common Problems and Advice. So it's essentially a resource pack where you've got the individual documents that I'll talk about in this training. That's all included in one place. So we'll cover that in a bit more detail, but feel free to check that out. The link should be below this video as well. So the first piece of the puzzle, the very first starting point I would like to identify and point out to you guys is the malnutrition prevention pathway. So this is to help establish whether a person is at risk of malnutrition. So we want to assess that person's risk, and then we want to take action on that person's risk. So the assessment part is usually in the form of a must score. So you can see in the top section here, it says about recording the must and how you would go about doing that, whether it's manually, whether it's using an online calculator, whether that's using a system that you currently have in place, and identifying that person's must score to then sort of plug that into the action section. So if someone's must is 0, obviously you're going to follow that green section there. So they're a low risk of malnutrition. So you'd probably just want to follow their routine care. So no additional action is needed, except in the cases where someone has got a chronic wound that is just, not healing. They need to be supported with appropriate wound care advice. So there may be a risk of malnutrition, but not in the sense of a weight loss or a BMI related malnutrition. So the next point in amber is the must of 1. So if someone is at a medium risk of malnutrition, so that would be the pathway, the amber pathway would be the pathway that you would follow if someone is identified as a must score of 1. A must score of 2 is highlighted in red. So a must score of 2 or more is classified as being at high risk of malnutrition. So that person may have lost weight unintentionally, quite a large percentage of their body weight in the last 3 to 6 months, and they may also have a low BMI, or a combination of the two. So you would want to follow the red pathway for someone with a must of 2. In terms of reviewing each residents, so you would want to make sure that you are reviewing them in a timely manner. So if someone has a must score of 1, you probably want to do that monthly, And then if someone is a must score of 2 or more, you might want to do that weekly if it is appropriate for your resident. And that is to make sure that, you know, we're trying to reverse that trend or trying to get it going in the right direction, depending on what that person's nutritional goals are. So you can see in each of these sections, they've got different steps to take. So completing must action plan 1. So we're going to cover the action plans in just a moment, or covering the must action plan 2. So we want to use the relevant document for that individual. You want to record a few days of food and food charts. So we want to make sure that we are analysing any gaps with that food chart. So if someone is eating really well in the morning, then that is something that we would want to optimise. If they're, you know, drowsy during the day, then we want to optimise the times that they're awake. So it really does come down to being individualised for that resident. We want to set clear goals for the resident, so whether that is stopping weight loss or trying to gain weight. And we want to flag any concerns to the relevant people, whether that is your GP practice liaison, if it's applicable. If the person's known to a dietitian, then flag and highlight any concerns to the relevant healthcare professional. Hopefully you can pause that, take a look at the document. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to the ICB dietitians, so myself and Michelle, if you have any questions on anything that comes up in this document. So I mentioned about the action plan. So we've got a must 1 action plan and a must 2 action plan. So must 1 action plan covers people with a must score of 1, or if they're eating 50 to 75% of their meals consistently. So if they are leaving portions of their meals or they're just not having a very good intake, then you might want to consider implementing this action plan. So it's essentially a food-based prescription chart. I'll show you an example in a moment, but you can see on there that we've got food boosters, extra snacks and nourishing drinks, all with a view to increase someone's protein and energy intake. So you can list down in the center column what topper, snack or drink has been given, and then tick the relevant days where that has been given. So we'll cover that in a little bit more as we go through this video. The must of 2 or more action plan, or if they're often eating less than half of their meals, you want to add in 50 calorie meal toppers, extra snacks, so 2 extra snacks a day, and aiming for 2 nourishing drinks per day, in addition to that person's usual intake. So I will show you an example. So you can see here on this example, we've got the resident's name at the top, what week this applies to, their nutritional goal. So in this instance, it is to stop weight loss. The chef, that hasn't been filled in, so we would want to make sure that the chef is aware if it's applicable for the chef to be adding in, or the cook to be adding in these meal toppers with their foods, or whether that is done on the floor, basically. So for this individual, we have got a tablespoon of double cream. So we've got that on Monday, but not throughout the rest of the week. And then the other addition that could be added to their breakfast is the milk powder. So that has been given most days. So essentially what this tool does is it identifies to CQC that you have identified that there is a risk for this person and you are taking action. So it's not just a case of, you know, filling in the must. Yes, we've done the must, or we've made a referral. This is a, you know, here is what we are actually physically doing for this person to support this person. Like, here are the extra steps we are taking in addition to a person's routine care. So you can see there, they've had some grated cheese added to their lunch on a few days. And in terms of the supper, again, grated cheese could be added on, you know, alternate days. Snacks, this person tends to eat better in mid-afternoon, so offering either mini sausage rolls or cheese and crackers, and again that sort of alternates to help prevent boredom and taste fatigue. Trifle could be added, so an extra little pot of dessert or something could also be added in. And you've got the nourishing drink options there that have been given throughout the week. So again, this evidences that you are taking action, you are trying to get in extra energy and protein to support that person's needs and prevent additional weight loss. There are food lists and recipes throughout the document, so if you want some more advice and guidance on things like the toppers, the snacks and the nourishing drinks, there are recipes and ideas as we go through. So the next section that I want to talk about is food fortification. So the aim with fortifying food is to increase energy and protein intake for that individual without boosting the size of the portion. So we want to make every mouthful count. This is all about fortifying that food. So you saw a couple of examples with the food toppers in the must action plans. So we're not trying to increase the volume of what they're eating with food fortification. It's all about trying to make it more energy and protein dense. Ideally, it should be quick and easy to adapt. So whether that is done in the kitchen or whether that's done at the point of serving the individual, or whether that's done when you're making up a milky drink, for example. And ultimately, this leads to better outcomes for residents who need nutrition support. So I'm going to highlight to you 4 easy ways to boost your residents' energy and protein intake. And the first one we're going to start with is dried milk powder. So you saw that on the example template on the must action plan 2. The benefits of this is that higher in protein, it's very versatile, so it can be added into milk, so it doesn't change the taste of milk, or it doesn't add any extra bulk to the milk. And then that milk can be used in things like custard and milky drinks, mash, etc. Milky drinks, so they offer both hydration and nutrients. They are quite palatable depending on what type of drinks you have, so you can mix that into like an Ovaltine or a hot chocolate or any other like malted drink, milkshakes, that kind of thing. The aim is to have at least 2 milky drinks per day. If your resident doesn't like milk or has an intolerance to lactose, obviously this is not going to be suitable for them. So we would suggest using a lactose-free milk or a dairy alternative such as a soya milk, which has got a higher protein content compared to something like an oat milk, an almond milk, or a rice milk. The next one, again, you would have seen this as an example, is grated cheese. So it's really easy to add this both at the time of serving the meal or adding it into the meal to boost the protein content. It's really calcium rich as well, so really important for bone health, and it can be added to lots of different things. It's very versatile, so hot meal sandwiches, mashed vegetables, without actually adding that bulk, as we said. Puddings can be a really good way of adding in extra protein and extra nutrients to a person's diet. So residents can have a balanced meal made of sweet food. So this can include energy, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. So if you're unsure of how to do this, then you can contact your local dietitians who may be able to offer some advice. So this is going to be important for residents who have maybe had taste changes, or they've got like a real sweet tooth compared to going for the savoury options. So they can be really high in energy. Again, they can be used, you can use like fortified milk to make up custards and things. So again, adding in those extra nutrients without increasing the volume. We've got a recipe for boosting milk. And again, this recipe is within the resources and the packs that we've got to share with you. So this can be made up on the day. It can, if you're making it up, keep it refrigerated, use it as you would with any other normal milk to fortify foods and in nourishing drink recipes. The next section is the About Me section. So this is to really get to know your resident and what their likes and dislikes are. You might have had someone who's come from the community who is used to eating alone, used to eating dinner in front of the TV, and used to having breakfast at 12 p.m. So when they come into a care setting, that's going to be completely different for that individual. So we want to, obviously we can't meet every single need, but it's almost like meeting that person where they're at, so that you can make adaptations if possible, and give a bit more understanding of where that person's come from before. So they may have even skipped breakfast before, and that's just not a thing that they've had. And now they've got, 3 square meals per day plus snacks, which is great, but it just might not be something that resident or that person is used to. So, and again, if you're gone from someone who is, used to eating on their own to then eating in that care setting, that noise, that distraction can be quite overwhelming for people. So again, it's having more of an understanding and being compassionate towards that person. In terms of preferences, so a person may have had cooked breakfast, cereals, something on toast. So this is all about getting getting an understanding of what they had beforehand and what they prefer, as well as assessing what level of assistance that person might need with their meal. So whether they need observation, whether they like someone that's around to chat, or having their food cut up into smaller pieces, or having, hand over hand feeding if they're a bit shaky, or if they need that extra support for sort of guiding their own hand to their mouth. The next section is the food boosters. So you saw this in the must action plan. So these are just some suggestions on how you may boost a person's nutrition. So we saw the cheese earlier, we saw milk powder. Other options are things like nut butters, chocolate spreads, jam, honey, oil, double cream. So the thing with the oil and double cream, obviously they are higher in fat. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but if we want to fortify a person's food, we want to make sure that they're getting other nutrients as well. So we're not just loading them up with oil and cream, but we're making sure that they're having that rounded meal. So it's an addition to something that's already got some added proteins, carbohydrates, fiber, etc. So there's some options on what that could be added to, whether that's like mashed potatoes, toast, vegetables, etc. And also we've got some vegan options as well. So this is becoming more and more popular. So you may have someone that is following a plant-based diet or vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. So you've got a few different options that can be used. This next section is really important, especially if you've got a resident who is refusing to eat, or their fluid intake's quite poor, or their snacks are being refused. So this is quite a handy table to look at, to see what the problem is that your resident is facing, and then what could be done to support that resident. So have a think again about the residents that are within your care setting and whether any of this is going to be applicable. So if someone is leaving specific textures, then we want to make sure that their dentures are fitting and that they're not loose. We want to just make sure that they're having the food that they prefer. We want to make sure that the consistency of their food is appropriate for that person. And we want to make sure that if there's any swallowing difficulties, we want to make sure that they've been seen by the speech and language therapist team to make any relevant and appropriate suggestions for them. This point is really, really important. So when it comes to when a person is approaching the end of their natural life, eating and drinking can be quite a source of stress and distress from both the family members and also the individual themselves. So we often see, people that tend to go off their food, or they're just really not interested. So the aim of this is to let the person choose, like, if they want to eat, when they want to eat, and what they want to eat and drink. So offering smaller portions can be helpful as well, so that it doesn't become very overwhelming. And again, like, the rules around having things like balanced diet don't tend to matter as much if someone has got, is in the final stages of a life-limiting illness. We want to make sure that the person is always at the centre of their care. Mouth care is really important. that can prevent a person feeling thirsty. So it can just help them, provide them a little bit more comfort as well. So you can use things like a small spray bottle to mist the mouth, being careful not to give too much, because obviously we don't want to pose that as a choking hazard as well. So small pieces of ice or ice lollies instead of drinks can also be helpful to help provide that comfort. There is a bit more about this in the resource pack as well. So there's a whole long list of suggestions. There's some food ideas on there as well, and just a bit of reassurance. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to speak to your local dietetic team, who should be able to give you some more advice. So when we're looking at food fortification, here are some examples of this in action. So if we're adding, we've got porridge here, 40 grams of porridge made with 240 ml of semi-skimmed milk. So if we're adding in a few of these food boosters like skim milk powder, double cream, and some honey or some jam, we've added in an extra 232 calories and an extra 7 grams of protein without actually increasing the bulk of that meal. So it can really make a difference when you're looking at the meal piece by piece. So if you want to pause the video and have a little think about how you would fortify this ham sandwich, have a little think, and then when you're ready, restart the video and you'll see the answers. So if we have got our usual, like normal ham sandwich, 2 slices of ham, 2 slices of bread and butter, if we're adding in 1 tablespoon of full fat mayo, so that's around 100 calories, some of that might shock you guys to see that 1 tablespoon is 100 calories. We're also, if we add in 2 tablespoons of grated cheese, then we've added in an extra 340 calories and 15.2 grams of protein. So we've taken a ham sandwich from 287 calories to 627. We've taken it from 11 grams of protein to 26 grams of protein. So just those 2 simple additions can make a real impact for a person's lunch diet, and all of these little changes added up over time will have a huge impact on that person's week. So if we're referring this to, or comparing this to a standard SIP feed, like an ONS or a nutritional supplement like milkshake based drink, then they have less protein in than the ham sandwich or this fortified ham sandwich or ham and cheese sandwich now. So it's good to be aware of things like that as well. So you have a lot of influence over how supported a person can be when it comes to their nutrition. So if we're looking at snacks, we want to aim to offer residents at least 2 nourishing snacks per day. So there's some options here for what that could be. And these are nourishing options, so not just your usual yogurts or biscuits or anything like that. Whilst they do have a place, we want to make sure that we're giving residents a bit more variety other than just yogurts or biscuits. So looking at adding in things like nuts or something on toast, like pate on toast or something, cake, looking at soya options as well, and I'll come on to some vegan snack options in a minute, but these can all be ways of getting in extra protein. So you can see that there's the little asterisks. If they've got 1 asterisk on there, they've got 5 grams of protein in per portion. And then if they've got 2 asterisks, they've got 10 grams of protein per portion. So we've got some vegan snack options as well. So things like mini vegan sausage rolls or sausages with mayonnaise, avocado on toast, pita bread again with hummus, sandwiches, etc. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole sandwich, but you could give half a sandwich or something as a snack. It doesn't have to be, sandwiches are only at lunchtime, for example. So these ideas, as I say, they are in print format as well, so that you can use these and share them with your colleagues. I'm going to highlight some of the resources that are available. So as I mentioned, the one that we've just looked at, so some of the resources we've looked at come from this resource pack. So that's the Nutrition in Care Homes, Common Problems and Advice. So I'm just going to bring that up onto the screen. So I'll show you where you can get that information as well. So this here is the Hampshire and Isle of Wight ICB website. So if you type in to this website, if you type in nutrition in the search bar, click search, and then the top page here, nutrition medicines optimization, this will bring open this page. So you've got some diet sheets and information, so nourishing drinks, nutrition support, and then this is a resource that we were looking at. Vegan nutrition support is also relevant, and wound healing is also relevant. So if we are looking at this document here, so this is the nutrition support tools and advice for care providers. This is what the document looks like. Well, that's what it looks like at the moment. This is always going to be updated, so it might look slightly different by the time you come to look at this. So you can see some of the points that we've looked at. So you've got the must action plan, you've got templates here as well, food boosters, vegan ones. We've got how to use food charts and develop a nutrition care plan, food chart examples, etc. So if we go on to this one, so if we're looking at developing a nutritional action plan, as I said, the idea is to take action on identifying that person's risk score. So looking at what their goals could be and what that might look like for a person. So if someone's got a medium risk of malnutrition, we want to aim to increase their energy intake by this amount. You don't need to work out the calories, you don't need to work out the numbers or anything like that. You can use those action plans to help meet that person's needs without too much thought. And then you've got the examples here as well. So that's that resource. And then if we look at next one, BDA Care Home Digest. So this came out in 2024 and it is a really, really good resource. So this helps with menu planning. This is the first resource of its kind that has kind of come out. This helps with menu planning, delivering positive mealtime experiences, supporting people with special diets, so whether they've got dysphagia, dementia, etc. Palliative care, end of life. So it's a really comprehensive resource, and I believe you might be able to click on this as well. So you click on the menu and it takes you to that section, so you don't need to go through the whole section. So that can be really helpful. So yeah, so that last one was the BDA Care Home Digest. The other tools that are really helpful, so this one has got the that's the same link before, so that's got your wound healing, nutrition, nourishing drinks, etc. on there. And the other one is the Wessex Hydrate Toolkit, so you should be able to see that here. So that is for people who are struggling to meet their hydration needs. There's some really good resources and tools in there to help support your residents. So that is the end of this video. If you have any questions, feel free, again, as I said, contact us at the ICB or contact your local dietetic team who should be able to offer you some further advice. I hope you found that really helpful and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.